Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. This is episode number 72. I'm joined as always by my co-host Ethan Barlow. The football's been coming thick and fast in this Christmas period. You can barely keep up. I hope everyone's enjoying the football from all leagues, but especially in Scotland. Obviously, we had some midweek games last week, so we're going to be quickly going over that. And then we're going to be going over the World Cup draw. Do not worry, we will not be here for 5 hours dancing and singing and getting Shaquille O'Neal out here, although that would be very cool if he appeared on the podcast. But yeah, and then obviously we're going to be going over the weekend's action, briefly discussing the European games coming up, giving predictions for those, and then obviously we won't be back on until next week. So the Premier Sports Cup final, we will discuss that very quickly as well towards the end of the video. But first of all, before we get into all of it, how are you doing, Ethan?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Lots of exciting stuff coming up. Well, none more just past than Scotland finally getting to know who they're going to play in the World Cup. It's feel like an eternity ago we actually qualified and topped that group. But yeah, the draws obviously as we'll get on to, it's entertaining. The kick-off times, the places we're going to be playing as well. So all of that good stuff. How's yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm a bit cheerier than I was last week. If you didn't see last week's episode, I went on a bit of an extended rant about the state of Rangers attack and play. However, since then they've scored 5 goals in 2 games. And we'll start on the first one. Obviously, they got a 2 each draw against Dundee United on Wednesday. Um, you know, a decent result for Dundee United, Ethan, and maybe not the best result for Rangers.
Nah, yeah, that's it. Dundee United have been struggling recently. I think no wins in the last six of them. Correct. I think it's 3 wins and 3 draws, so it was a good result, and it looked like they were going to pick up a win for quite a while towards the end before Rangers obviously got that penalty, which Irami converted really well for not the usual penalty taker. But yeah, a disappointing points drop for Rangers, but obviously important that they bounce back on Saturday night in that 8 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, 8 o'clock Saturday night kickoffs. Very, very strange. Now, Aberdeen had a very exciting game against St Mirren up at Pittodrie, ending in a 3 each draw. We were getting the goal updates from when I was watching the Rangers game from Sky Sports, and it seems like they were coming very, very quickly. All the goals in the second half as well. Absolutely mental game.
Yeah, exactly. 6 goal thriller. Not often you see stuff like that, especially. I think we were talking about how a lot of the teams in the leagues seem to be struggling to score this season, are struggling to find a striker who's going to score. But yeah, it was a really entertaining game and a massive late equaliser from Richard King. And I think St Mirren really needed that, and it probably gave them the confidence going into the weekend. Aberdeen, not the best result, but they obviously bounced back at the weekend.
Yeah. And then obviously we'll move on to Celtic. The last game under the stewardship of Martin O'Neill, they maybe want him back already. A 1-0 victory over Dundee. I didn't see the game, Ethan, but it seemed like it was, probably pretty bog standard. Dundee didn't really offer much going forward. It just maybe a couple more goals you would have hoped for.
Yeah, Celtic obviously got the goal quite early with Daisen Maeda. He put himself in harm's way and was off the pitch for, I think, 10 minutes getting treated. So Celtic were down to 10 men, and after that, the game kind of just wasn't really anything going on. It was a bit of a boring match to watch. Celtic didn't really create any clear-cut chances, as you said. Dundee didn't really create anything, but at 1-0 they always had a chance, and it looked like they might get a late equaliser at the end, but it wasn't to be. And Martin O'Neill continues his excellent record. I think it's over 500 points he's won in Scottish Premiership now, and has an over 80% win rate, which is just ridiculous. 7 of 8 wins. He done everything he pretty much could. Although the performances in the last 3 games before Nancy came in weren't great, still pulling out results, and obviously that's something we'll get on to concerning Celtic's defeat on Sunday.
Yeah, Falkirk and Motherwell 0-0. Not really much to say. I mean, not you wouldn't you. Although other than you probably wouldn't expect a 0-0 draw from these two teams.
Yeah, that's it. But they have thrown in a few recently. I think Falkirk drew with Rangers, nothing each. Motherwell drew with, was it Hearts, nothing each. So they both went in a little bit of a run of nothing each draws. But as you said, it's not something that I think we'll get used to with these two teams, as we've seen on both positive and negative ends at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And finally, Hearts dropping points again on Wednesday night. A late goal from Bruce Anderson getting Kilmarnock the draw. Uh, a decent result for Kilmarnock. They need every point they can get at the moment. However, for Hearts, Ethan, at the time, it seemed like it was, potentially disaster. Obviously, I think a lot of has been made of the position that they're in. They are still in a very strong position, but I think drawn to Kilmarnock at Tynecastle on Wednesday, a lot of people wrote them off going into the big game on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think a lot of people were saying, including myself, that the bubble was possibly burst for Hearts and mentioning them in the same breath as a title race. But I think that result at the weekend, as we'll obviously get on to, I think there's a lot of fallout from that, which can be so positive for Hearts and they can go again. But yeah, it was really disappointing, especially to drop the late goal at the end and how they did swallow. Maybe should have done better with it and Anderson's in. But some wins for Kelly, which they haven't really had recently. And I thought it might transpire to Kilmarnock a decent result of the weekend, but it obviously didn't happen, although there wasn't much in the game, as we'll probably get on to.
Well, I'd maybe disagree with that to a certain extent, but we'll go over Scotland's World Cup draw first of all. After 6 hours of sitting on the Scottish Football Zone listening to Michael, we finally got the draw. Scotland are in Group C, where they will face Brazil, Morocco, and Haiti. And I've seen a lot of discussion about who is in the group of death. I feel like we're certainly up there.
Yeah, along with what is it? Group is it Group I? Maybe that has France, Senegal, and Norway.
Mm.
Um, they're obviously three very strong outfits, but I'd consider Scotland as a strong outfit alongside Brazil and Morocco. Maybe not as strong as, but yeah, it's a World Cup. We're against three teams from different continents, which we wouldn't usually play. I think Steve Clarke was saying that's something he wanted.
You've just pulled out the Steve Clarke quote, eh?
Yeah, yeah, I have. No, but that's what it's all about, and that's what makes the World Cup entertaining. Teams that wouldn't usually play against each other, because I think you understand that all the teams in European football, the teams in South American, the nations, they all know how each other play and stuff like that. But it's a completely different style if you're going across continents, and hopefully we can start off well in that 2 a.m. kickoff on that Sunday morning, as it'll be here against Haiti in Boston, and then carry that through to the other game in Boston. It's good that we've got two games back to back in the same city, better for the travelling Scotland fans. And then obviously going to Miami for that massive game against Brazil, which we might need something for. From sorry, 3 points might be enough, but I think it'll probably come down to goal difference. And yeah, you don't want to be going into a Brazil game needing to keep the score down,
Aye,
depending on how what Brazil turn up. Because I think we've said that Morocco are possibly the strongest team in that group,
yeah.
but Brazil have still got some excellent players. You've seen Neymar recently scoring a hat trick for Santos, rolling back the years it seemed. So yeah, you don't know.
And even outside of Neymar, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Vinicius Junior hasn't performing, so maybe that gives Scotland a chance. Then you look at Rafinha, Estevao, João Pedro. I mean, he's not been good for Spurs for a while, but Richarlison always turns into R9 in a Brazil shirt. So
Uh,
it'll be interesting to see. I think Morocco is the strongest team. They obviously have some really good players, the likes of Ashraf Hakimi, a player that we are all very familiar with in Scotland, who looks like he's already attracting interest from bigger clubs than Lille, Hamza Agaman. There's been talks around him moving on from Lille already in January. He'll be in that Morocco side as well. So, and as a, but you know, we'll need to see though because we've got the Afcon first. They are the favourites. They are the hosts. and I guess that's a good scouting report for Scotland fans to look at going into the World Cup. And Haiti, I mean, I'm not going to pretend I know anything about them, but Scotland should beat them convincingly. Hopefully, you were mentioning goal difference there, Ethan. Hopefully, get a few goals in the bank against them. However, classic pessimistic Scotland fans mentality I've got here. I feel like that's got a draw written all over it.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, quite possibly. You never know, especially when it's teams from different continents. As I said, like they obviously qualified quite fairly. I think they had maybe Honduras and Costa Rica in their group, which are two teams that have qualified to the World Cup a lot more recently than Scotland. So you never know with these things. But Scotland should be beating Haiti if they have any sort of aspirations of getting out of that group. And the only player I actually know from Haiti's Bellegarde, is it, at Wolves, who's possibly part of the worst Premier League team of all time, going on the track record they're on so far. So hopefully he carries that into the national team and we can get a convincing win to start the campaign.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But let us know what you think about our World Cup group. Let us know if you're going. Let us know what your plans are for the World Cup. Pubs in Scotland, you better be open late. You know, I don't want to be going to a club with a telly to go and watch the Scotland games. You better be opening late, or else I'll be in my house, um, trying not to fall asleep while watching Scotland draw with Haiti. But anyway, moving on to the SPFL fixtures of the weekend. Who will we start with? Ethan, have you got a preference? Or
Uh, no, not really. It's up to
okay,
you. I don't mind.
we'll start in Dens, with Dundee and Aberdeen. Excuse me. 3-1 victory for the Dons. Adila Sheesh finally getting off the mark. Oh gosh.
No, I think he scored all. I think he scored one before, just the one.
No, I mean like sorry. I meant, kind of like Adila Sheesh arriving, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah. Rather one of those stellar performances that I think you expected from him when he came in. He's obviously a very talented player, and it's not really worked out for him. But he's still relatively young at 23, and still has a lot of potential ahead of him.
Yeah, some really nice finishes, some questionable defending for the goals. Gosh, I've picked the wrong moment to get a sore throat here. I don't know what's going on. Sorry to all the listeners who are hearing me cough into the microphone, but yeah, some nice finishing from him, some questionable defending. And then Astley got one back, and I Dundee again from set pieces. And then Kevin Nisbet with one of the cheekiest goals I've ever seen late on in the game in the 92nd minute. Um, I feel like for one of Aushish's goals as well, some questionable goalkeeping from John McCracken. And I don't know if I'm being too harsh because it was a really cheeky finish from Nisbet, but I feel like he's caught really flat footed because there's not a lot of power on it, is there?
No, yeah, I think you could maybe agree. Certainly the first goal, I think McCracken's got to do better. The first, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Lazetic, the shot that he palmed out to Alcic, and then it sort of goes through him on the rebound. But the third goal, yeah, maybe you could say he could do better. But as you said, it's a really cute finish from Kevin Nisbet with outside of his boot, and for a player that's his first domestic goal of the season. So yeah, he'll be hoping to get a few more in to get in Steve Clarke's plans, and I think there's a few strikers we'll talk about today in that same breath. But yeah, Aberdeen, they handled business as they have done recently, scoring a little bit more goals than they have because I think we've spoke about it on previous episodes that although they've been getting more wins recently, they've still really been struggling to score multiple goals in a game, and it's been mostly the clean sheets which have helped them towards the victories. But it was the 3 goals today and today this weekend rather, and Alcic's second goals are a really nice finish as well, and they'll be hoping that he's one who comes on to a game and really realises his potential at Aberdeen. I thought Stuart Armstrong, from looking at the highlights, looked quite sharp as well. I don't think he's going to be able to make a late run at Steve Clarke's squad, but you never know. He's
No.
obviously one who's been
Please,
well liked
please,
in the
God.
past.
We're all right in the midfield department. We don't need Stuart Armstrong.
No, I would agree, but you never know. You never know. Funnier things have happened,
I
but
do know. I do know. He's not getting anywhere near that Scotland squad. Absolutely not. But anyway, Dundee now down in 11th as they have been. I'm assuming Stephen Presley hasn't had a dream for a couple of games. Um, you know, because they've lost their last two. Not great for them. However, I just feel like this is going to be the story of Dundee's season. They're not gonna be good all the time, but they're gonna pop up every now and again with a really important win, and they're gonna stay up by the skin of their teeth.
yeah, that's what it seems to have been so far. And even if Kilmarnock and St Mirren, who were the closest teams to them, and I think Dundee were actually above them going into the midweek results, certainly. I think Dundee have got that knack. You've seen it this season. They beat Celtic. They got a point at Ibrox. They beat who was it? They beat recently as well. Um, I can't remember who it was.
Uh,
That's really poor. I'll have to check. Um,
who was it? It
it was St Mirren.
was
It was
Mirren,
St
yeah.
Mirren. Of course, it was St Mirren. Um, but yeah, they seem to just have that knack of pulling 3 points and decent results out of nowhere, really, and it's a good knack to be in, especially when Livingston, which I'll get on to some statistics surrounding them later, but they're in an even more concerning state at the minute.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm being proven right. I knew they were gonna go down. No, but anyway,
Still quite early yet. Still early yet.
yeah, but come on, they're going down.
I would have to say they're my favourites at the minute, but think of what St Johnstone done last season. Then they looked out for the count for large parts of the season, and then they made a late fight back. Obviously, they went
Yeah,
down
but they
anyway,
still
but
went down.
they were in a much worse situation than Livingston ever been this season, points wise. Anyway, obviously, we're a lot earlier in the campaign, but there's still lots of time to turn it around. But yeah, for Dundee, it is concerning, but at least they're not the worst team in the league, and at least they're not in that automatic relegation spot at the minute.
Ethan, I don't know if you saw there was a potential penalty incident in the game. Simon Murray brought down in the box. The ball was away from him. However, it does look like he is kind of cleaned out by the
Yeah,
Aberdeen player. So it's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, it looked at first glance like maybe Simon Murray had a case, and I know he's someone who looks like he sort of complains a lot to referees. But I slowed it down and tried to rewatch it again. I think maybe Jack Milne just gets a touch on the ball, which is possibly why it wasn't given. But yeah, Simon Murray is someone that Dundee will need to start scoring on at least half of the basis he did last season, because he's obviously really struggled this campaign
Yeah.
after being nominated for player of the season last season.
Yeah. Moving on now to Hibernian versus Falkirk. I did not see this result coming. I thought it would be tight. I could have seen it going either way. However, Hibs get the 3-0 win over Falkirk. Martin Boyle with the opening goal through a penalty. Kieran Bowie then got a double. One of his finishes was such a nonchalant finish. Mr. Nonchalant there for Hibs. He's trying to take Michael Elise's title. No, but that was a really nice finish. Falkirk did score, but it was ruled out for offside. Really unlucky. He bends his run really well. He's just a whisker offside. Falkirk also did have a penalty claim as well, and we can discuss that further after we've gone over the game. Ethan, I just wanted to raise it because I think that actually points to maybe a change in the way referees are viewing handballs. We've seen the examples of Emmanuel Fernandez, and now we've seen this. So I want to discuss that further after we've gone over the game. But a really good result for Hibs.
Yeah, exactly that. It is a really good result for Hibs, and I think I might have spoke about it on previous shows, but they struggled against the teams that were in that top six to beat any of them last season. I think it was maybe seven meetings in all. in both league and cup, and they hadn't got any wins, but obviously very convincing at the weekend. And I know Falkirk have obviously dropped out of the top six now. Aberdeen are into their place, but going into the game, Falkirk was still in sixth place, I believe, and yeah, good for Hibs to get over that hurdle in a really convincing fashion as well, with some nice goals, as you said. Falkirk, really good run comes to the end. That's only their second defeat in the last 10 Premiership matches, which for a newly promoted team is excellent going. But yeah, I think it was just it was an experienced performance from Hibs as the experienced Premiership campaigners, and they just really ran over the top of Falkirk. I know they had that goal with Ethan Ross and maybe the penalty they could have had, which we'll get on to. But yeah, and Hibs two strikers getting on in the act as well, both 7 goals this season. Good to see Kieran Bowie back in amongst the goals, because I think he got one the other week, but he did have a bit of a spell of not getting them. He's another player that, like Kevin Nisbet, will want to get in firing form for that Scotland team, and Martin Boyle will want to get in firing form for his own right, for obviously the Australian national team. He took his penalty well, back to his smash down the middle approach on penalties, which I love to see. And it was really clever from him to sort of buy the penalty off Lisa. It is a bit silly from the young defender, but he does nibble in and run
Yeah.
him down. But yeah, really good performance from Hibs, and a lot of positives to take as they look to hunt down Motherwell, Rangers, Hearts, and Celtic in this crazy league table.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, every team is susceptible to drop points this season, so you don't know what could happen. Now, I want to talk about this potential penalty incident because it does strike his hand. It's kind of like here, you would say,
Yeah, yeah,
body. Um, I think they've maybe changed the way they're looking at these penalties because if the Emmanuel Fernandez ones, I thought he was lucky to get away with, but they were both. What's in common with them was they were both quite close to his body when he was doing it. Maybe less so the Livingston one, but it wasn't like he wasn't like a fully outstretched arm. It was kind of up a little bit. The Dundee United one, the ball just comes down and he's trying to actually pull it away and it hits his arm. And then this one here, the his arm, like I said, it's tucked in kind of out the way. So Ethan, do you think the referees are actually changing the way that they're awarding penalties and looking at these decisions? And if so,
I think,
do you think it's a positive change that they're not
yeah, I think quite.
not everything's going to be a penalty?
Yeah, I think quite possibly they have maybe changed the way that they're looking at these, because obviously, as you said, there has been multiple incidents recently where we've not seen penalties given that maybe would have been given in the past. And yeah, I think everybody who's played football at any level agrees that some of the decisions that are getting given are just baffling, and the handball rule is becoming just crazy. But I'm glad that maybe they're going back and maybe trying to penalise defenders or defending players for less, because it is difficult. I mean, Fernandez's 2 handballs, maybe you could say they're penalties, but at the end of the day, he doesn't really know much about them. But I think the one with this one was it Jack Iredale that hit it
I
off,
think
was it?
so, yeah.
I think, was it going wide, the shot?
I don't know.
I think it might have been. I don't know why that's what I think. But when I seen it, I thought that shot was going wide anyway. So like, I don't mind it not being given a penalty where I feel like if it's going on target and it's going to cause a problem for the goalkeeper, like the Fernandez one certainly against Livingston was, then I think maybe it's different. But yeah, if they're given less penalties for handball consistently across the league, I've not got any problem with that at all.
Yeah, yeah. I'd agree with that definitely. Because like you said, I think it's got to a point where we discuss it and we talk about it. None of us actually really know what a handball is anymore. We try our
No,
best. We try our best to keep up with it, but it's really really tough.
yeah, no, exactly. And it is because nobody knows the rules, and I don't think the referees really know the rules either, because it's never anything that's black and white. There's always a nuance to every decision that has to be made, and that's obviously the difficulties the referees face. But if they're consistently, unless it's a really outstretched arm and really a handball,
Like
then
Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, like Virgil van Dijk, yeah. Uh, then there's maybe if they're going to stop giving them as frequently, then I'd be all happy for that. And hopefully, it's just consistent across the league.
Aye. Well, speaking of black and white, we're going to take a trip over to the Smiza, where the Paisley Buddies got a 2-0 win over Dundee United. McMenamin and Kiara Bacchus getting on the score sheet. McMenamin, a really, really good header at the back post that opened the scoring. And then after a bit of a stramash, Kiana Bacchus to lash it into the net to make it 2-0. A really important win, Ethan, that St Mirren sort of ended their winless run before heading into the cup final on Sunday.
Yeah, and they needed this, but as I said, following the late equaliser and the heroics of Richard King at Pittodrie, I thought they might carry that confidence into the game, and they did, and they were probably the better team. I think Dundee United had some chances, but from what I've seen, Dundee United fans not very happy with how they performed. I think Sapsford had a massive one-on-one chance. Apart from that, St Mirren looked to have more of the play. It was a really nice header from McMenamin, as you said, but I thought it was a brilliant ball from Declan John, who actually I believed. I was told that he'd be out until after the League Cup final. Obviously not. So that's a big boost for St Mirren, considering he's been one of their best players this season. And as you said, it's massive to get a confidence and a win before they play Celtic on Sunday, because Celtic are in obviously the opposite state at the minute, as we'll get onto. But yeah,
Yeah,
and good for Bacchus to come off the bench and get a goal, as well as I think it's his first since returning to St Mirren. So yeah, happy all round, I imagine, for the buddies at the minute.
yeah. I think it was really important. I mean, and we've had we know they've got this in their locker. As much as I joke about Stephen Robinson and especially on the Scottish Football Zone, I do rate him as a manager, and you know that they have this ability to get wins, and they know that you know they have good players there, and you know they got over the line. As for Dundee United, it's a little bit becoming a little bit of a worrying situation. You could say they are struggling to get a win, really, really struggling. I'll just double check, but it
But
has,
yeah, they haven't won any of the last six. They've drew
yeah,
three and lost three. So
yeah.
yeah, not great. And the last win they actually got was against St Mirren at the end of October. St Mirren's last win was the in September. So it shows how long ago since Stephen Robinson's team got a win, that we're now in December. 8 Premiership matches without one. Obviously, the only win in that time was against Motherwell in the League Cup semi. But
Wow.
yeah, it's concerning for Jim Goodwin. Obviously, not great for him to lose against his old team as well. Which
Jim good win, more like Jim bad loss.
uh,
Oh, cut that out. No, we'll keep it in. But we'll move on to the Motherwell versus Livingston game. A 3-0 victory for the Steelmen. Elliot, what a finish, opened the scoring.
I know,
Uh,
you need to stop that. You need to stop that.
it was a good finish. Opened
It
this.
was that, but it was terrible defending, and I think maybe the
Oh,
goalkeeper Jerome Pryor could
the
have done better.
goalkeeper, I think the goalkeeper was wrong-footed. First of all, he was setting up for a goal, a shot in the other corner. You could see him trying to adjust. And then a Stamatolopoulos penalty. I'm still really happy that I've got that down now, that I can just say it. Second nature, Stamatolopoulos penalty in the 60th minute to make it 2-0. And then Emmanuel Ongelo comes back into the goals in the 88th minute to make it 3-0 to Motherwell. Livingston are in trouble, Ethan. It's not looking good. Um,
Yeah, like,
we'll start on them. You've got some statistics.
yeah. I was just looking at it. It's not. I think everybody could probably see this, but just to put it in perspective, since David Martin Dale's team beat Falkirk in the second game of the season, they picked up just 4 points from a possible 39, which is not very good at all, and shows how poor that they've been. But they're only 4 points adrift from Dundee at the bottom. They've got a game in hand on Dundee, so they're not down and out yet. And I think although this scoreline would suggest different, they have been competing in some of the games. I think it was Aberdeen the other week that Aberdeen beat them 1-0, and Livingston could have maybe easily took something from the game. But yeah, Motherwell continuing where they left off, I think, and still holding on to
Many
third at the
many
moment, which is
people
very
many
impressive.
people suggesting that they are playing the best football in the division at the moment. I don't think I would disagree with that at all.
No, no, yeah, no, no not at all. The run they've been on, 8 league games unbeaten for Jens Berfalasco's team, and I think they've been really good. The goals they score as well. I seen Motherwell fans earlier today. It was actually I seen them outside the ground on Saturday saying they were asked who's the best player in Scottish football, and they were saying Elliot Watt. So obviously nice for him to get on the score sheet, and what a sort of turnaround it's been for him from going with that relegated team of St John's last season to being maybe the star player of Motherwell this campaign. And as you said, I think the goalkeeping and defending maybe should have been better. But yeah, a good goal regardless. And then obviously, um, Stamatopoulos gets another goal. I think he scored 6 goals in the Premiership this season, and 5 of them have been penalties. So I think you'd want him to score maybe some more goals outside of the penalty kicks, but it's a good habit to be into the finishing them. I think the only goal he scored actually was at Celtic Park when he scored that double in the 3-2 loss. I did think it was pretty naive from Lewis Smith, though, to give away the penalty with a foul on Katrumbis, and then, as you said, Longello back involved in the goals. He's already got 9 goal contributions this season for a left back, stroke left wing back. It's very, very impressive.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you could see that from the start of the season. He loves to get forward. He's always there at the back post, almost James Tavernier like, you could say, with his sort of positioning and his ability to get the goals. Maybe they'll start putting him on penalties as well if Stamatopoulos misses a couple. No, but that's a very, very good result for Motherwell. And that will take us nicely onto the 8 o'clock kickoff on Saturday night. So Kelly hosted Rangers at Rugby Park. Rangers got the 3-0 victory in the end. Bojan Miovski opened the scoring with a tidy little toe poke finish, it looked like. Some nice footwork from him, shifting it onto his left and through the crowd, put it into the net. He then got his second goal in the second half. Some nice play from Rangers, spread out to Miovski on the right hand side. He looks like he's shaping up to bend it into the corner, and he just tucks it into the near post. Then Mikey Moore makes it 3 with a really nice finish as well, leaving his defender for dead, putting it into the corner. And then he did score a fourth, but it was taken off for a foul in the build up. Which is strange because I didn't think that one was a foul, but I think there was actually a foul earlier on, as the commentary team was talking about as well. But yeah, a good win for Rangers. It was tight in moments. Kilmarnock could have been in front. Bruce Anderson in the first half had a really good opportunity. Came off of a Rangers corner actually that Connor Barron actually took, sprinted the whole length of the pitch and cleared it off the line. He's one I want to talk about as a standout over the past few games, and especially on Saturday. He was excellent. But I'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm just pleased Rangers got a decent away victory, back to winning ways under Danny Rowe. Um, Rangers, I think, have the longest unbeaten run in the Premiership, weirdly enough. 10 games. It doesn't feel like it. A few too many draws in there. But, all we can do is just take it game by game. But Ethan, what did you make of this game?
Yeah, from the what I've seen of it, I didn't get the chance to watch the full 90 minutes. But yeah, I think 3-0 away from home is always a good win for any team, especially coming off the back of the disappointing result at Tannadice for Rangers, and especially going to Rugby Park, which is somewhere I think we all see is a difficult place to go with the surface. Kilmarnock getting the bounce of that late equaliser at Tynecastle. So yeah, a really good result for Rangers. Good for Bojan Miovski to get the 2 goals. I wouldn't say they were the prettiest goals. They were really good striker finishes, but he'll take any goals at the minute. 4 for the season now, and I think just getting a double will do him the world of good. And I think he's he's the standout striker at Rangers at the minute, and he's the one that's got that shot. And then Mikey Moore that gets the third goal, which was a really nice bit of play, rolls the defender, and then it's a really nice finish into the corner. I think Rangers fans will want to see more of him and more stuff like that from him, as he's obviously a very talented player, but putting it uh, or into fruition has been something he struggled with. But I think most Rangers players have underperformed this season on the whole, so it's not really, you can't blame a guy who's what, 18, is it? So
Yeah,
yeah,
he only turned 18 in the summer.
yeah. But no, a really good win, as I said, and lots of positives to take for Rangers. And as you said about Connor Barron, it was excellent tracking back to stop the ball on the line with what would have been a certain goal. It was quite funny that it got flagged offside. Cyprus Anderson being a couple of yards inside his own half, but it wouldn't have mattered anyway. That's nitpicking. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. Conor Barron was incredible. He was absolutely everywhere. I think he's taken a step up in the technical side of the game as well. He likes to take the ball in tight areas, move it on, whereas before he would maybe lose it or pass it back. He moves the ball on really quickly. He's everywhere in a defensive sense, and he's doing things that we used to herald Nico Raskin for. Raskin was actually all right on Saturday. However, I think Barron is the main man in that midfield at the moment. Really positive from him. A wee shout out as well to the defensive pairing who really smartened up on Saturday night. Emmanuel Fernandez in particular, he looks like he's growing in confidence with every game. Nasser Giga. You know what's funny? I said this to my dad. Nasser Giga, on the whole, is actually like all right, except he has an absolute howler every few games, and you can't have that in a centre back, unfortunately. And it is a bit of a shame for him, but yeah, not not great. But he was decent on Saturday, and yeah, I think Kilmarnock though probably should have been in front in the game. They were the better team for decent amounts. However, I feel like they collapsed after Rangers' second goal. They did have opportunities later on in the match. Tyrese John Jules springs to mind. Some good saves from Jack Butland in this game. But yeah, not the result Kilmarnock would have been wanting. Stuart Kettlewell obviously sent off, and the TV cameras caught him unloading obscenities on the referee, finished by a fudge off after he'd finished after the ref had said something else, and he walked up into the stands. And then Laurie sent me a clip of him doing an interview where he was basically talking about how, oh, I get mad and people need to stop me from jumping over advertising boards and stuff like that. So he's a real hard man, sure, Kettlewell.
No, but I think in all seriousness, he is walking a fine line at the minute, especially with the Kilmarnock fans with the recent run of results. I think there's positives to be taken from this game, as you said. They went toe to toe with Rangers for a decent spell in the game, but as you said, when Rangers sort of got out touching distance, they were comfortable in the end. Maybe there was a few decisions that I think Kilmarnock fans are mourning about. A lot of people feel Jack Butland should have been sent off for his tackle on Bruce Anderson, which I think we both disagree with. Is that
Yeah,
be correct to say?
yeah, I disagree. I feel like, Bruce Anderson does kick the ball off of him, but, you know, he does get the ball. If you want to put it like that, and then he follows through on Bruce Anderson. And unfortunately, a lot of people saying out of control and stuff like that. But I feel like it's just a hard tackle, isn't it? I mean, goalkeepers, I think they get looked through a different lens. If Jack Butland had followed through and studded him in the ankle, then maybe I would have agreed and gone red card. But his feet are on the ground and he doesn't hurt Bruce Anderson um, too badly. Although he was down for a little bit, he doesn't. It's not like a really really bad challenge. I think it was just a hard challenge in my opinion. Um, but yeah, Steve Frail was complaining after the game about that. He was also complaining that Kilmarnock should have had a penalty. I know the incident he's referring to. I think it was Bruce Anderson in the box, but there was absolutely no chance. He just threw himself into Nico Raskin and fell over. So yeah,
Although I haven't seen that one, I do think they maybe had a really good case with Mohamed Diamande's
oh, is that maybe
pulling
maybe that's the one he's talking about actually.
pulling David Watson. I think Diamande is lazy. Watson makes a run past him, and we've seen stuff like that given before. So yeah,
I
I
think
think Diamande possibly
ultimately,
looks everyone.
I think ultimately the explanation for that was, and I think it's a silly explanation because if you punch someone in the face in the box, it's it's a penalty. No matter. But the explanation was, um, it wasn't affecting the play. Um,
Yeah,
so that's why it wasn't a penalty. But say the ball was up in the other end of the pitch and you just turned around and cracked someone, is it not a red card because you're at the other side of the pitch, you're not affecting the play, or say the ball was out for getting a cross and you or it's being worked and it's not, they're just kind of passing it around and you just decide to haul someone down in the box even though there's not even a cross coming in. Is that not a penalty? So I'd probably say they have a case for that.
yeah, I'd agree.
But anyway, it was a positive result for Rangers, a better performance, 3 goals, none conceded. We could talk about the disallowed goal. I feel like it was rightfully disallowed for a foul earlier on in the build-up. However, the second one, I, I thought it was just a coming together of legs. The one that actually got ruled out for. I think the explanation for that one would be if he'd not been taken down, he might have been able to close down Danilo and stop him from playing the ball into Mikey Moore. Maybe that's the explanation, but I think there was a foul on Scott Tiffany earlier by Emmanuel Fernandez.
Yeah, I would agree with that also. And between the two fouls, they're maybe not the most in it, but when there's two fouls that are being checked and a VAR check for a goal, the chances are that one of them's going to flag up as something that disallows it.
Did they
That's
check the first one? I don't think they did. I thought they just didn't
I,
really pay attention to that one and just checked the second.
I don't know, but I think it depends what you see. I don't know if we're actually seeing on the TV screens everything they're checking because but I do think they check almost everything that happens in the build up to a goal. Sometimes to the viewers' frustration when a check's too long. But yeah, I think they probably came to the right decision in the end. That's the main thing. Whether they got it right for the right reasons is another question, but they got the right decision, I think, and that's the main thing. And ultimately, didn't have too much of a bearing on the game, but it's good to see them getting the decisions right on a regular basis.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that'll do it for the Rangers game. Moving on to Sunday, the final game of the SPFL of the weekend. Wilfred Nancy made his debut in the Celtic dugout, hosting title challengers Hearts, and I think a really great thing Ian Crocker said at the end of the game. I think really sums it up. It just sort of it kind of reminded me and maybe reminded a lot of people. And Ian Crocker saying, Hearts saying, this is our title race too. Like we said earlier, a lot of people have maybe written them off, but that's a 2-1 victory, by the way, over Celtic at Parkhead with Claudio Braga and Ocean. Is it Ocean McKenty getting
Yeah,
on
I'd say Ocean McEntee, but McKenty also. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah.
Ocean McEntee getting on the score sheet before Kieran Tierney scored one late on, but there wasn't enough in the end. So Hearts, extending their lead again at the top of the Premiership table to 3 points. With however, Celtic do have a game in hand on them, but yeah, not a great start for Wilfred Nancy in the Celtic dugout. Ethan, he's been playing about with tactics boards; they didn't work. Uh, One thing I want to pick up on straight away is the formation change first of all, but the fact he's constructed a back three with three left footers. What's going on with
Yeah.
that? Austin Trusty looked so uncomfortable the entire game. I thought, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I think that's something that Derek McInnes used to his team's advantage. He knew that when he's seen the lineup, and I think he obviously prepared for Wilfred Nancy to play the style that has obviously got him the job at Celtic. And a few people saying, "Well, you need to keep what's been working with the Martin O'Neill system." And I understand that he made a lot of changes to the team in 2 training sessions. I think it was. He's pretty much told the players to go from X to Y, which is always going to be risky against. Which at the moment I'd have to
X to Y.
factually. Yeah, I don't know why I said that.
Yeah, is the phrase not A to Z?
Well, I'm not aware of that phrase, but I'm sure everybody got what I was meaning.
No, no,
X to
no,
Y.
no. It's just no. I wasn't trying to wind you up. It's just because
No,
X and Y are like close in the alphabet. A to Z
yeah,
is.
but I think it's more I think that term's more in the maths sense of X and Y if you've done algebra and stuff like that. But anyway,
All
it doesn't
right,
matter. I got this. I
this is
got the
not an
saying wrong.
algebra podcast. I thought I'd
No,
gotten
it's
away
not.
with
It's
that
not. But
when
everyone understands what I'm saying.
I thought I'd
Yeah.
gotten
The
away
point
with that
is,
when I left school. No more algebra.
right. Okay. The point is, he went from okay A to Z. Then, if you want to go with that, and he's told the players pretty much to do something completely different from what they've done under Martin Neal and then what they've done under Brendan Rodgers. But I also look at it, if you've brought a manager in because you like his style of play and it's been successful, and that's the reason why he's got the job, and you can't expect him to come in and work at a style that he's not familiar with. He's played three at the back, I'm pretty sure, for his whole managerial career, pretty much. So I think I didn't expect him to change it that much, but then again, I don't think you can expect him to come in and play a four. I think that's maybe on. You've got to question maybe the time he comes in. Three massive matches against. I think I was going to say. I don't know about whether I said it there, which I would have to call factually the best team in the league at the minute. Hearts. I don't think anybody can have any arguments for that. They're at the top of the league, regardless of their recent run. I think it doesn't really matter how you get there come the end of the season. If you're sitting with the top of the table with the trophy, then you've done enough. And
Yeah,
I think it's a
something I've thought about was Rangers, Celtic, and Hearts, particularly Celtic and Hearts, because they're the main two in the title race. I'd say at the moment have shown they're susceptible to drop points elsewhere,
mm,
which makes me think that these games could be crucial. And Hearts have done the triple over Rangers and Celtic this season. They beat them. They beat Rangers at Ibrox. They beat Celtic at Tynecastle, and now they've beaten Celtic at Parkhead. So these results at the end of the season could be crucial, because I don't think we'll see any of those teams go on extended winning runs unless they have a miracle January and everything starts working out extremely well. And Wilfred Nancy is the second coming of Ange Postecoglou, and who also did lose his first game with Hearts. So you know,
yeah. Funnily enough, the last four new permanent Celtic managers, if you exclude Brendan Rodgers' second tenure, have all started their Premiership Celtic careers against Hearts. Two have won. Neil Lennon beat Hearts, I believe, in his first game after Brendan Rodgers left the first time. And so did Brendan Rodgers when Scott Sinclair came off the bench to get a late winner. Obviously, Ange lost start season in the game, as you referenced to. So, yeah, it's a difficult state. Nancy comes in, and he takes responsibility for the team losing, especially after the run Martin O'Neill left the team on. But I don't think I referenced to it earlier. There was no guarantee that Celtic would have won this game if Martin O'Neill was in charge. They weren't playing great stuff. Neither were Hearts, you could say. I think probably if Martin O'Neill was in charge, I think Celtic maybe would have won this game. But you bring in a new manager in, he's got a completely different style. He's going to need to change it at some point, and it just didn't
Did you
work on
see
the
what
day.
he said though? He's all like, I don't want to damn him before he's in the door, but he's already kind of hitting out with Russell Martin type quotes. You know, he got asked, was it maybe a wee bit thingy to change the style and start your new style right away? And he just went, it's nothing to do with the style. Nothing.
To be fair, in all fairness, I don't think the style was the problem. I think Celtic really a lot of their key players underperformed.
Yeah, I know that. We can all see that, but he's not directly, but if you read into it, you could see he's publicly throwing players under the bus already.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, no, I get that, and I think, yeah, I understand that because certainly in the second half, I would agree with them. I think Celtic went away from a lot of what they were doing well, especially in the first 20 minutes. I thought Celtic were excellent and Hearts couldn't deal with them. They really should have took the lead. Celtic through Dyson Maeda, massive chance, which he missed, and then Hearts came back into the game. They started with dealing with Celtic a lot better and then they obviously get the goal. Celtic switch off. I think they think that Claudio Braga's offside. Barney Engels is playing him on. Falls back to Braga and it's a nice finish. And then at that point, I think we've realised maybe that with Alfred Nancy's tactics sometimes rely and are better against teams that are going to press the ball when Hearts don't need to do it. Obviously, especially if they've got a lead. I think Derek McInnes said that he wanted the team to come away on that team bus, still top of the league. A draw would have done that. But obviously, they were coming to Celtic Park with the aspiration to take 3 points, and they done that, and they kicked on in the second half as well. Really, really nice header from Ocean McEntee. I think maybe I thought at the time Kasper Schmeichel could have done better, but it's right in the corner. A really good header. And it was going to be very difficult for Celtic to get back. Obviously, Kieran Tierney gets the goal late on. Good finish from him. A bit of a scoring streak for him recently, both for club and country. But yeah, Celtic didn't have enough. There was a few standouts, I would say. I think the whole of the Hearts defence were absolutely excellent. I thought Cammy Devlin was really good as well in midfield. For Celtic, I thought Yang, before maybe the second half, I thought Yang was on track for maybe his best game in a Celtic shirt. I thought he was absolutely excellent in the first half in that wing back role. And it was really strange to see a wing back pairing of Yang and Sebastian Tenecte. Tenecte was really, really poor and got hooked just before the hour mark.
But then in the second half, I thought Yang was poor. All of his
Yeah,
delivery
he was.
were
He was.
awful. Especially in in those last 15 minutes or so, he was really, really. There was opportunities for him. Luke McCowan's decision making, I thought, was quite poor as well.
Yeah.
Some of the shots he was taking when there was perhaps opportunities to give it to a teammate in a better position, and yeah, I think it was a bit of a slog for Celtic, especially in the second half. And Hearts looked dangerous on the counter every time they
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah, they certainly did. And I think the whole game played into Derek McInnes's hands. And I think he's ultimately schooled a younger, lesser experienced manager on the day. You obviously seen the images of him looking at Nancy's little tactics board, which I don't think will do much. It obviously brings McInnes a little bit more alert, quicker to what's going on in the pitch rather than.
I saw a wee tweet, and it was, to his credit, he's done a really good job of finding out a way for Rangers to break down Aberdeen here because of the little blue and red dots on.
Apparently had green stickers on the blue ones. But no, this is the type of stuff. This is the type of stuff you get from. Obviously, I think it's very early to say whether he's going to be a success at Celtic or not, and based off what we've seen so far, I don't think we've really learned much more. But
because I watched the game in the last 20 minutes or so, and he called over Cal McGregor, the tactics board, right? And he was showing him what to do. And then I saw him sitting with his assistant going like that. And then I saw him call over Callum McGregor again about 10 minutes later to show more tactics on the board. And I'm like, what is going on here? Ruben
Yeah,
Abramovich 2.0.
I think he's very hands on with what's going on the pitch. He was on the touchline pretty much the whole match, telling the Celtic players what to do. There was one point in the first half, especially where Austin Trusty kept having the ball because I think Hearts press forced it that way. Obviously uncomfortable on that right side with his left foot, and he kept telling them to drive forward and keep the ball. And Trusty would not pass it, and that's it. It's changing. It's such a different style of play to I think anything I've ever seen at Celtic before, and how attacking it was with the three at the back. The wing backs weren't really wing backs; they were more wingers. Nigrin and Hatate, who were both quite poor on the day, as the advanced midfielders, but dropping into spaces deep to get on the ball. And I think a lot of his thing speaking pre-match, sorry, was about looking after the ball and stuff like that. It's all very cliche at the minute. And something else that I think I've seen previously, that he tells his players to at some points wait until the pressing player is almost on their foot before passing the ball. And sometimes they're to wait on the ball, and it's almost a game of chess to let the other team move. And I've seen that worked a few times. There was one time where Kasper Schmeichel had the ball, Hearts had pressed right up, and then Tierney made a run over the left-hand side, and a ball from Schmeichel eliminated four players and stuff like that. But then the players need to learn when to wait, when to pass quick, and stuff like that. So it's a whole mentality switch the players need to go through, and obviously maybe
Difficult because
against
obviously they need to adapt to what Wilfred Nancy wants, but then they also need to develop the common sense within the game to make those decisions on,
yeah.
instead of, obviously you want to follow the manager's instructions, but if it's not going to work, don't blindly do what he's telling you to do. If you know you're going to lose it, or if just you need to develop that that ability to make those in-game decisions. But it is hard when you're trying to learn this new thing. You're trying to remember what the manager's telling you, and then you're having to work off the back of something you've not properly learned yet. So yeah, I sympathise with the Celtic players. Bet you never.
Yeah, definitely,
Bet you never.
definitely.
Bet you thought I would never say that. No, but
No,
yeah.
but I was just gonna say, like, maybe one of the last points. Sorry, to jump in. I was just gonna say, I think it would have always been difficult to come in with two, as I mentioned, with two training sessions and turn Celtic into a free-flowing 3-4-2-1 team. And I think maybe he'll look at it as maybe not the right decision to change the whole thing. But at the end of the day, I think if he's got his clear style of play, I think maybe the time that Celtic have brought him in, maybe not correct. I don't know what, because remember he was initially meant to come in for the Dundee game. Why he wasn't, we don't know. I think some people were speculating that it was a Martin O'Neill send off, which is fair enough. But then again, in this business, would you have rather got Nancy in for that Dundee game and against one of the weaker teams in the league? But then again, does Nancy's style suit playing against teams that press them more? Possibly. Some people have said that. So yeah, there's all these things, but it'll be a really interesting next few days for Wilfred Nancy and Celtic, because I think this result, a lot of Celtic fans, although some of them are pressing the panic button, a lot of them are willing to accept this one and give them this one, you could say. But Thursday nights, they'll need to see, on Thursday night against Roma, of all teams, they'll need to see improvements. And then obviously Sunday's a must win. So if he doesn't pick up any positive results from later, he could be in trouble very early.
Yeah, yeah. And because you mentioned it, we'll go on to it. Roma come to Glasgow for the second time this season. They already defeated Rangers 2-0 at Ibrox. They'll be looking to do the double over the Old Firm. I think on the last match day, actually, they beat Midtjylland, who are
No,
no longer the Europa League leaders.
yeah, they did 2-1.
Yeah, so FC Midtjylland now sitting second, on joint on points with the top Lyon, and third Aston Villa. Roma are in 15th on 9. Celtic sit by 2 points behind them on 7. Um, but I think it's a bad time to get Roma. Celtic are in a transition period, like we've mentioned, and Roma look like they've picked up their form, especially in the Europa League with that win against Rangers and then the win against Midtjylland.
Yeah, and that was where they were struggling in the early part, despite starting Serie A really well. The Europa League, they weren't really getting results, despite maybe doing enough to get them. They've turned that screw now. Although since the Michelin game, they have lost 2 games in Serie A, but Serie A and league football, same as Scotland, is completely different to European football. One of the defeats was against Napoli as well. Then they lost at Cagliari at the weekend. But yeah, it'll be really interesting. I think Roma are a team that, like a lot of Italian sides and Gasperini sides, play back three or 3-4-2-1. So it'll be a free back stroke five back, be a free back stroke five
One
back.
one thing one thing to watch out for though that's really interesting is Gianluca Mancini. Whenever Roma have the ball, he moves into an attacking position and almost plays as a striker. That's something I picked up on when they were at Ibrox. He loves to get forward. When Roma are sort of in that final third around the box, you might see him darting into that front area and trying to, confuse the defence and, maybe get involved themselves. So that's something that's interesting. And Roma, they were very tidy on the ball as well. There's certain European sides you come up against, and I feel like in that Rangers game when they were 2-0 up, when we were sort of threatening to maybe come back into the game, I feel like my uncle said this, and I'd probably agree. If we'd scored, they would have just went up into their next gear and scored again.
Yeah,
It felt like they were cruising against Rangers at points. So, a very, very talented side with some things maybe you wouldn't expect.
yeah, and that's a really interesting thing that I'll look out for with Mancini because, like, unlike what we've seen from Wilfred Nancy, we don't know if he's going to change it for this game. It is more of a back five that Roma play. It's 2 full backs as their wing backs rather than wingers, which gives you that allowance to get a centre back like Mancini to go and challenge in the
He's
opposition's
not shy
box.
of a goal either, Gianluca Mancini.
No, I think I remember him getting 3 goals. I don't think it was. I think it might have been a couple of seasons ago. I remember him getting for. I think it was. It might have been for. No, I think it was still for Roma where he got 3 goals in 3 games or something like that. So yeah, and I think for Celtic, despite how poor some of the players were against Hearts, I think he'll still go with the same starting 11. He only made 2 subs to bring on Johnny Kenny and Luke McCowan. So I don't think he's got a lot of faith in some of those players on the bench. And who else does he bring in? So yeah, I think it will be a really attacking team from Celtic again, which could ultimately backfire against a top quality opposition like Roma. So yeah, I mean, it's really the element of unknown with this game because we really don't know how it's going to go. But um, if I had to speculate, I would go 3-1 win to Roma.
Oh, okay. And I am gonna go with a repeat of their result at Ibrox. I'm gonna go with a 2-0 win to Roma. Rangers travel to Hungary to take on Ferencváros in the Europa League. Ferencváros are actually up in sixth under the tutelage of Robbie Keane. They have 11 points. They've scored 9, conceded 5. They've lost none. They've won 3, lost 2. Won 3, drawn 2, sorry. So a pretty difficult game for Rangers, who have won any chance of progression, which is very unlikely now. They probably need to win their last 3 games.
Yeah, exactly that. And to go to a team that's unbeaten in the Europa League after 5 games, it's going to be really tricky for Rangers and a really tall order. But the fact that now maybe they've got a striker that's confident in front of goal, which I don't think they've had all season, and Bojan Miovski could maybe be the difference. It's going to be it's like almost all Europa League games. It is really difficult to call. I know Rangers in the past were a force in Europe, maybe even as recently as well, would that have been, yeah, last season? Um, this season's been so long that I'm forgetting that that's last season already. But anyway, yes. So yeah, I'd like to be confident the Rangers can go out and get a win, but I'm not. Obviously, they need to get a win. They need to throw everything at it. There's no margin for error now. Need 9 points from nine. Tens ultimately what people speculate to be the top 24 point tally. So
Although
yeah, I'm not sure.
if you look at the table though, 24th Basel they have 6, Dinamo Zagreb 23rd have 7, Red Star have 7, Celtic have 7. So it's I feel like
Yeah,
if
but there's still 3 games to play.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, so the
The
tally
point
would
of
probably.
making those teams also have 3 games to play.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that 10 points is from most of these league phase or calculations and what we've seen from last season. 10 points is what you need, and I don't think Rangers should be looking for anything less than that. Whether they can get that is a completely different question.
Yeah. Well, Aberdeen in the Conference League host Strasbourg of
We're not doing a prediction for that game.
Oh right, sorry, I've done a Michael. I'm gonna go with. Oh, well, it worked on Friday, so I'm gonna go with 2-0 to Ferencvaros.
Why don't you just give a prediction of what you actually think will happen?
That is kind of what I think will happen.
Okay, I'm going to go with 1-0.
Okay. Aberdeen host Strasbourg in the Conference League. What?
No, I'm just laughing at that fixture. I think it's going to be really tricky for Jimmy Tilley's team, but never know.
Well, Strasbourg have lost their last 3 games in League One. One of them is
They
to
also beat Crystal Palace.
yeah. So Aberdeen have been known to turn up a result now and again, and I'm just going to go with it straight away off the back of a good 3-1 win over the Mystic, the Wizard up in Dundee. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Jimmy Tilley and Aberdeen.
I'm going to go with the. Ah, you know what? I'm going to go with the same. I'm going to go with the
Oh, come
same.
on. Monadons.
You
Okay.
know, I think we'll have a positive. We'll have one positive result this week, and I think Aberdeen they're in a good space at the minute, and I think they're going to pull off a shock result here, and hopefully the Scottish side shock result of the campaign, maybe alongside Celtic's win in Rotterdam.
Okay, I think that'll do it for today's episode of The Dugout. Thank you to everyone for watching and listening. If you're on the Spotify, go check out the YouTube. If you're YouTube, go check out the Spotify. Go check out all the socials, the Twitter, the TikTok. I'm back posting on the TikTok. So the daily news is back there if you want to keep up with Scottish football. And yeah, thank you all for watching and listening. Goodbye.